Thank you all so much for being here tonight. My name is JC Don Valeris. Randy so kindly introduced me before the special started tonight. And I thought it would be such a great idea to have a conversation with so many of the people that were involved in making Candle, Snow, and Mistletoe. So, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a couple really interesting things about this special that you just saw. So it came out in 1993, and it was filmed in 6.5 days.
It's a bit too hot. Can you turn the sound down a little bit?
Are we good? Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, as I was saying, Candle, Snow, Mistletoe was filmed in 6.5 days. The entire film.
Was it?
It was. It was filmed in 6.5 days. All of that magic. Thank you, Michael McNamara, for making that happen. It was nominated for a Gemini Award, and more than 1.2 million people tuned in to see it when it aired. That's something. That is something. So let me introduce you to the people that are on stage. Sharon and Bram, of course, need no introduction. Sitting next to Sharon, Elaine Overholt, who was Sharon, Lois Bram's longtime vocal coach, and so many other things. Sitting next to Elaine is Michael McNamara, who directed Candle, Snow, and Mistletoe. He also directed a couple of episodes of The Elephant Show as well, which is exciting. Next to Michael is... Oh, and wrote, that's right. Yeah. Yes. Next to Michael is Lynn Harvey. Lynn Harvey was a producer on this special, and she also worked on Skinamarink TV in 25 years of Skinamarink, so she is representing. And of course, next to Lynn is Randy Hansen, and Randy did a wonderful job of thanking everybody who was involved in making tonight happen, and I want to take a minute to thank Randy, because without Randy, none of this would have continued, and she is responsible for so much of the magic that you are all still experiencing. All right, so let's get into some of the fun things that happened during this film, the making of it. Sharon and Bram, I know you have a fun story about the vegetable trappers scene in the movie, so I thought it would be fun to start. Well, we're going to let the audience decide if it's a fun story or not.
It's not entirely clear that it was fun. I have to say that, do you remember, we tested, the day before we had to do the upside down, we tested, what do you call that when you're hanging upside down in ski stuff? And they tested us. Do you remember doing that? Yeah. I don't know what that's called, but we were fine. We're so clever. So we tested it, and I felt fairly confident that I would be fine hanging upside down. Lois was very clear. Very clear, right? Absolutely not. But I thought I would be fine. Some of the people here, for some puzzling reason, thought it was fun. So they strung us up. What you saw was the second shot, the second time. Because the first time, I was doing this. And I want to tell you, I was not happy. So when they finally put us down at the bottom, Eric Casimiro, who was the other executive producer, said to Randy, "Go to your mother." He knew that he was in trouble. Anyway, they of course had to do it again, right? But I held on to Lois a lot. And I did spin a little bit. Do you have anything more to add to that, Michael?
No, it was in a period of time when people were doing this as an exercise thing, right? Where they had these boots with hooks on them. In fact, that's what we used, I think.
Yeah.
And so, it just seemed like, well, it should be easy enough. And I tried it, and it was okay. And I didn't think about the fact that you'd have to sing while you were doing this. Deliver lines.
We didn't have to sing. Everything on there was
You don't have to tell him.
But you still had to be upside down to remember the lyrics.
And the lyrics and actions. The thing is, it was my husband actually who knew that kind of stuff, and he said that the people who set it up did the ropes wrong, and that's why we were spinning. If they'd done them correctly, we would not have had to do that. But I'm a hero. I spun, and he was a double hero because he made himself spin.
I made myself spin around, and just by accident, I took my hat off and I threw it at one of the vegetable trappers, and I got him right in the face.
Is this an apology?
No, gosh, it's a brag.
Sharon, earlier today we were talking about the costumes and how absolutely fabulous every single costume was in this film. Do you remember who designed them?
I do. And where's my sister? Okay, this will probably mean something to you. I think I'm right. Frances Defoe. Does that mean something to you, Ruby? She was the designer of all the costumes for the competitive skaters, ice skaters. And taller grants.
She had been a skater herself, right?
Had she? I didn't know
She
that.
was a pair skater. I don't know how far she got, but she had been a skater herself.
Yeah. So there was an extra burden for me, I have to say, because I was going through a point in my life when I was very hot. And the women in the room will probably understand what that means. And the men who have women in their lives will understand what it means. It was at that very time that I was in the most extreme heat. And we were wearing very heavy Victorian, heavy coats and things like that. And so it was hard for me. And then the floor director or whoever would take a look at me and they'd say, "Bring in Sharon's fan," which is what I needed. Anyway, they were wonderful, wonderful costumes. Oh my goodness, unbelievable.
Do we have anything here that reflects the costumes?
Well, your coat was worn on Broadway for the Broadway performance of Candle, Snow, and Mistletoe. It's that very colorful pink and purple and...
Could somebody grab it and just bring it to the front here so they can see it under lights?
Sure. Someone's
Here we
gonna-
go. Wow.
Look at that. I think you should start wearing that again. This is...
I want it. Thank you. That's great. I'm taking it home with me tonight.
One of the most special parts about this special was the music, of course. And Elaine, I know that you had a really big role in helping them prepare for the recording of all of these songs. There were 2 songs that were written specifically for Sharon, Lois, and Bram, Don't Bring an Elephant to a Family Meal and Candles Long Ago, which I'm sure you have some stories about. And Elaine, I know you have a very special story about the recording process and some of the things that you had to deal with.
Yeah. So, first of all, I'm just, I'm so moved by this tonight. I haven't seen it in a long time, and I'm very emotional. And not surprisingly so, because I love these people so very much. We were in Los Angeles recording the music for Candle, Snow, Mistletoe, the album. And one of the songs, unfortunately wasn't in the show, in this show you just saw, was the 12 Days of Christmas. And, which is on the album, absolutely, which is available over there. And, Steve like that. So we had I don't know whose idea it was, maybe it was mine or it was somebody. So we decided it would be really cool on each day of Christmas Day to have a child sing the ba 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 ba, 10 ladies dancing, right? And and to sing it in a different languages from all around the world. Well, how the heck are we gonna do that? Where are we gonna find kids that can sing and that might know the language that of their birth or their heritage? So I got this idea to wander around Los Angeles to restaurants, small family restaurants. And I would go in a little Italian restaurant, and there would Mama be cooking and Dad would be serving and cleaning up. And I'd strike up a conversation. Usually I had to buy some food. And I'd say, I'd explain why I was in Los Angeles. I was doing a big TV show and a big album. Do you have any children? And most often they'd say yes. And I'd say, oh, how lovely. Does your child sing? Yes, of course. And I went to a Japanese restaurant. I went to a Greek restaurant. I went to a French restaurant. We got a girl to sing. You did a concert one day at a school, a very privileged school, and there was a little girl there from England, and she was the one that sings 5 golden rings. And these children were wonderful. And what was I going to say? Mexican restaurant, right? And so I begged the parents, I explained what we were doing, and we brought those children into, the parents must have been very trusting. Oh, and the big thing was how to translate 4 calling birds into Greek. And I'd say to the parent, so how do you say 4 calling birds in Greek? And they'd say,
exactly, that's
okay,
what they said.
it's a bit long. How do you say 4 birds? Anyway, we had to absolutely truncate it down so that it would go ba 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 bum, bum bum bum. And each number of the day was a different child from a different family and a different country. We even had I went into an East African restaurant, and her child, she spoke actually Swahili, the mom, and we had her child in there as well. So that was really, really fun.
You were serious. I just have one memory, and you could probably respond to this, because I know it struck you. When we had rehearsed in Toronto for some considerable time, and then we went to LA and continued work. We were preparing to go to the studio. We went into the studio in LA. Do you remember the first thing that happened in the studio?
No.
Microphones.
Oh, I do.
I know you do.
I do. The head engineer took every microphone in the house, which was a few dozen, and lined them all up on stands. And each of us sang into each different microphone, and he decided that microphone 4 belonged to Sharon, and microphone 12 belonged to me. And nobody's ever done that before.
Not before and not since, but he was wonderful. The studio was amazing.
One other little thing I wanted to mention, that the first item, when we would arrive at the studio at 10 in the morning, the very first question, and the most important thing of the day was, where are we going to eat tonight? And if you know Sharon, Lois Bram, you know that food is extremely important.
Randy, I want to jump to you for a second because some people might not know that you actually have a cameo in the movie. You were in the opening scene, and also you sang on Mrs. Fogarty's Christmas Cake along with Lois's son, David.
Stand up.
Stand up, David.
Came all the way from LA today, right? San Francisco.
And if you listen closely, you can hear both of them singing. But I want to talk to you just about experiencing that, what it was like working with Sharon, Lois, and Bram on making that album.
Well, my memory of that, David and I were both living in San Francisco, and Sharon, Lois, and Bram were in Los Angeles. So anytime they were somewhere fun, we would try and horn in on their action and go visit them and stay in a nice hotel. So we had just had brunch. It's July in Los Angeles, and we're recording a Christmas album. And we went for brunch, and Eric Casimiro, who produced the record and the TV special, had rented a convertible, and he was driving David and Lois and Sharon and Randy to the studio, and we were late, and he was scared because Glen Roven, the producer, did not like that. But what we were doing was practicing. Yes, it would kill him in twice after eating once. I said Miss Fogarty's Christmas cake. I don't know how any of us sang it. Maybe they sped it up or something, but just being in Los Angeles in July singing a Christmas carol was a pretty fun memory.
What do you remember about making the film itself?
Well, I also remember, because we were all dressed in period costumes, that it was sweltering hot in them. And Jackie Essler, who was working in the office, came in the same day, and we all got to dress up in period pieces and watch this massive, big budget soundstage production filming. And I was saying to Lynn, you see every penny that was spent on the screen. The choreographer's name was Sergio Trujillo, who's gone to become a massive Tony Award-winning choreographer on Broadway. And they did not scrimp a penny on the direction, the actors, the choreography, the sets, all of it. Then maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
Nothing more to add, but yes, the sets, the costumes, I mean, they really were extraordinary. I've done a lot of shows. I don't think I've ever done a show that had such beautiful, elaborate sets. It really is. It's like watching a Broadway show. It's incredible. Yeah.
The auditions for the choreography for the dancers, I just couldn't believe how many people they brought in and how everybody was auditioning, learned from Sergio what the moves were, went away for a couple of hours, and then came back, and then they just going some of this. It was really quite a, it was a record. It was a really big, and they were all, every one of them, real quick studies, and 6.5 days we shot this. So the one thing that I remember the most is doing Cool You. The big band we had given all these, they were actors, but were not playing the trombones and the trumpets and so on, and they were miming. And nobody was an actual trombone player, and nobody could figure out how to actually hold one. So if you watch, there's actually a few people who were playing the trombone upside down. But it was actually to date probably one of the biggest things I had ever done in terms of scale, in terms of, and I actually do have somewhere high-8 videotapes of rehearsals, which are probably fetch some money on the black market somewhere, and just working our way through each one of those dance numbers and then figuring out how they were staged, and you would to see the background. I had forgotten, for instance, the Nutcracker suite, which is like, I can't hear that music without thinking about Sharon, Lois, and Bram singing it, really. And I forgotten the fact that we actually had a model of a train in the background. Well, speaking of models of trains, it's very obviously a model train, but the model train was actually built for me by David Woodhead, who was a bass player and arranger, and was the bass player on with Eric Nicholas band, for instance, and continues to play every time. Second? And Stan Rogers, bass player as well. But he was a model train enthusiast, and so he actually built the skilled version of it, and then we did all those scenes on the tabletop, over a period of a few days. But it was so much fun. Thank you. Thank you.
So I have something to tell you. when we finished watching here, the film, I went to the bathroom. That is one of the things I do. And between here and there and then back again, 3 people stopped me and asked the same question that I've been asking and everybody around me has been asking about this program since it was made. Why is it not everywhere all the time?
Why is it not a regular holiday show presented by our CBC who made it? And it puzzles me because I think it's a love. The message of the show is not heavy-handed. It's just people being nice to each other. Things work out. This is the sad part of our story.
Well, of course, Lois isn't able to be here and to be a part of it. She was such a special part of the film. So we pulled a quote from her that I'd like to read about her experience. "We all felt like we were working on something extraordinary. We had never worked in a period setting, and we had to wear costumes. I had to wear my hair up, although I kicked and screamed about it at first. I have to say it did look wonderful. Michael wanted it to look like a 1940s musical, and we hoped that the show would never date." And I think after seeing it today with all of you, we can all agree that that is correct. It has not dated, and it's still relevant, and we have all enjoyed every minute of watching it. I did want to quickly touch on the fact that Lynn, you worked on Skin and Ring TV. I know there's a lot of Skin and Ring TV fans in here, and I was curious just about your experience working on that show.
Oh, it was spectacular. It was so much fun. You asked me earlier, Lacey, how I met them, and this is how I think I met you. I don't know if you guys, but a long time ago. Oh, are you? See, I am not used to holding a microphone. I don't know about this. You can hold my microphone, really. I had been producing the Juno Awards, and I asked Sharon, Lois Bram to present an award. And that was the first time I met you, as I recall. And I had been a fan, and I was a young woman who wanted to have kids, and I always listened to your music, and we met, and at the time, shortly thereafter, I think, or in that same period, you had wrapped the Elephant Show, and you were looking to do your own production. And when you started to interview producers for the next show, you called me up, and based on that meeting, yeah. So that's what I recall. And yes. So a colleague I had been working with at the time, Richard Mortimer, who was a director and a writer, also had worked with you guys on the Elephant Show. And Richard and I were working on another project, and so I called him, and so we started working on this, on ideas, and we spent a lot of time sitting in coffee shops. Back when you could smoke, which I hated, because Richard chain smoked, and I'd be sitting there, oh my God, breathing in the smoke all day, but we finally came up with this notion of second city for kids. So that was really the idea, all these different little shows within a show. And
By the time we started doing that show, or working on scripts, she wasn't someone hoping to have children. She had a new baby. Was that? I can't remember which one it was.
it was Claire. I remember
So
our first meeting. Yeah, we had a meeting at Lois's house.
But then we used to meet at CBC, and she had a nanny, and there was a special room where the nanny and the baby could be, and when she needed to be fed, she'd be brought in to us, and we'd pass her around, because that's what we do. And
I was the only one doing the feeding.
oh, definitely.
Michael, I'm going to end the conversation by just asking you a few more questions. Of course, I grew up watching The Elephant Show. You have been a part of the Sharon, Lois, and Bram story for so long. You were a part of working on Pet Fair, the Elephant Show episode, UNICEF, and the museum episode, which ironically, Dan Redican is also in that episode, since we've all been connected for a long time. Do you have any final thoughts about working with the trio, The Elephant Show, making this film that you want to leave everyone with?
Well, it was actually one of my first jobs is working as an editor on the show and then understanding how the shows worked, and pitching some ideas for the shows. And so I think I pitched Pet Fair and also the museum one. This was before Night of the Museum and movie. So they get walked into the museum over. And Dan Redican was somebody I just admired as a member of the Frantics, the comedy troupe, the predecessors to Kids in the Hall. Speaking of which, there's appearances in Council of Mistletoe, the guy playing the accordion and so on. He's a character that pops up a lot in Kids in the Hall. His name is Bellini, and he'll sort of show up like in a bathrobe or something. And so you're like inserting little bits and pieces like that in the show all the way through. But it was just such a great joy to be. And I went on to do Polka Dot Shorts, the series between Ontario. I wrote about 20 of them and directed all of them. And Lee Robert, who played the elephant in this, played the part of Dumpty in Polka Dot Shorts. And she's an amazing performer and physical performer. So it was a real pleasure this is all kind of family, right? I mean, we're all basically, it's all the same 100 people, essentially.
I think people who worked on, I'll just say one thing, I think people who worked on our television shows, crews, really liked doing it because it was decent. You'd see a grip walking around with a kid on his shoulders. Everybody was warm and friendly. It was a very nice environment, and we were lucky for that.
Well, you set the tone for that, and you brought the right team to the table, I think. So, and I do want to say one more thing. So, as producers, independent producers, we have to sell our ideas to networks and mass streamers, and it's a hard thing to do. And we worked on the pitch for Skin Marine TV for quite some time, and we finally got it to a place where we loved it, and the trio loved it, and we went into CBC to pitch it. And the area head of kids at that point was a wonderful, wonderful man named Peter Moss. And Richard and I were doing another show for him at the time called Jungle Vision, which was a teen show. And thank you. And anyway, we said to him, okay, we have this other pitch for you. Can we come and talk to you about it? And we went in and we're holding our documents. We said, okay, so it's Sharon, Lois, and Bram, and it's a series. And he said, okay, I'm buying it. And we were like, what? That never ever happens. And he said, it's Sharon, Lois, and Bram, and it's you guys. Consider it sold. So that's
nice.
A big.
Didn't know that story.
I didn't get to all the questions, I'm sure, so let's turn it over to you guys. Do you have any questions or anything that you would like to ask anybody up here? If you do, you can raise your hand. Can we turn up the lights in the house for a minute so that we can see? That way we can see all the faces and we can take some questions. Oh, there's one right here. What's your question?
For those of you who didn't hear her, she said it was the best. Thank you.
There's a question right here. You really like the movie. Me too.
Does anyone have a question? No questions. Oh, there was one right there.
Why did Sharon have the blueprints of the train and the map to the other train station? It was a giant map.
She's always prepared. That was her character, her Mary Poppins bag, exactly. She just had everything. She had a recycling bin and a map and
I would say that's also very like Sharon in real life. Sharon is always prepared for all things. Yes.
Except